You know how some performances just stick with you? They get under your skin, go way beyond the screen and the story, and they hit something really personal. Well, today, we're going to break down one of those unforgettable moments. It's a performance that I think perfectly captures that universal search for who we are and where we belong. Let's get into it. So, I want to start right here with this question because it's really the key to this whole thing. Just think about it for a second. Have you ever had an object, maybe a memory or an idea, that you held onto so tight, like if you let it go, you might actually lose a piece of yourself? Well, for the character Gao Feng, that one thing was this: a silver ring with a snake pattern. It was the only thing his mother ever left him. For 20 long years, it was his single, fragile connection to his entire past. And his connection to it wasn't just sentimental, it was deeply physical. You'd see him, whenever he got tense, gripping that ring until his knuckles went white. This wasn't just a piece of jewelry for him. It was his Lai Chu, his roots, his origin story. It was, well, it was everything. And then the moment comes that just shatters it all. A statue gets destroyed, and inside, they find a skeleton. And on the hand of that skeleton, an identical silver snake ring. In that single instant, the entire identity Gaofeng has built for 2 decades just evaporates. And the feeling isn't fear. It's just this profound, hollow emptiness. And this line just says it all, doesn't it? It perfectly captures his devastation. The one thing he thought grounded him, the one symbol of where he came from, was a lie. He'd spent his entire life searching for a root that had already decayed, trapped in cold, hard concrete. Okay, so how in the world do you act that out? How do you show that kind of soul-crushing discovery on screen? This is where we need to talk about the craft of the actor, Zhang Ruoyun, who makes you feel a pain that seems like it's seeping out of his very bones. Yeah, this goes way beyond just crying on cue. It's a total body transformation. I mean, just look at his posture throughout the show. He's almost always hunched over, just slightly, like he's carrying this massive, invisible weight on his shoulders. That's not just an acting choice, right? It's the physical proof of the burden he's been carrying his whole life. And it all builds to this one absolutely legendary scene in the pouring rain. It's a masterclass, really, in how to show a complete breakdown. First, you see this cold sneer on his face. It's one last act of defiance against his fate. Then, the walls just come down. A raw, animal-like roar of pure anguish just rips out of him. You can literally see the veins popping in his neck. And finally, nothing. Just silence. He collapses, his body shuddering, completely and utterly broken. And let's be real here. It is not a pretty sight. His face is all twisted, there's rain and tears and snot everywhere, but who looks beautiful when their world is falling apart? This performance is all about that raw, brutal authenticity, not about looking good for the camera. It is unflinchingly, painfully real. And that's what makes it so powerful. There's no vanity, no holding back. I mean, it literally feels like the actor is reaching into his own chest, pulling out his heart, and just holding it there for all of us to see. It's just complete and total vulnerability. But hey, it's not just about the big, explosive moments. The real genius of this performance is also in the silence, in the tiny moments you could so easily miss. So let's zoom in on the incredible acting that happens in just a few seconds. This slide just lays it out perfectly. On one side, you have that external collapse. In the rain, it's loud, it's huge, it's a full body breakdown. But then look at the other side. This is the internal collapse, the instant he sees that second ring. It's all in these tiny, almost invisible micro-expressions. His pupils shrink down to pinpricks, his jaw tightens, the little muscles in his cheek just twitch. It's an entire universe of despair happening right under the surface of his skin. You know, when you see that level of detail, that seamless shift from quiet shock to explosive grief, the line between the actor and the character it completely disappears. It makes you wonder, is this even acting anymore? It feels more like a possession. So why? Why did this one performance hit millions of people so hard? Why were clips of this scene shared over and over again? Well, it's because it tapped into something we all understand. That feeling of being adrift, that feeling of being rootless. Because when it comes down to it, are we just watching a drama? For so many people, the answer was a clear no. Watching Gao Feng's journey wasn't just about seeing a character in pain. It was about us processing our own search for a place to belong. When we see his stubborn refusal to give up, we see ourselves. When we feel his profound sense of being adrift, we recognize our own moments of being lost. His struggle, it brings up our own hidden pains, maybe from our families, our own confusing search for who we are. And it taps into that question we've all asked ourselves late at night, staring at the ceiling. Who am I, really? But here's the thing. The story doesn't just leave us there in all that despair. After all the pain, after the brutal truth comes out, the story actually shows us a way forward.
So Gao Feng finally gets the answer he spent his whole life looking for. And yeah, it's more painful than he ever could have imagined. But the most important part is what he does next. He makes a choice. He chooses to let go of that obsession with his past and instead to find his purpose in protecting the people around him in the here and now. And that right there is the big takeaway. It's the powerful, beautiful message at the heart of this whole thing. Our past doesn't have to be our prison. Where we come from is the starting point, sure, but what really, truly matters is where we decide to go from here. So, in the end, Gao Feng finds a new kind of peace, not in his roots, but in his actions. He finds his path forward. And that just leaves us with one final thought to ponder. What about you? What path will you choose?